You talk a lot about fraud in your welfare policy. How much is benefit fraud costing New Zealand?
Yeah, I don't have a figure on that.
So in the 2022 year, 4,700 benefit cases, just 33 of those resulted in criminal prosecutions. We spent $50 million investigating benefit fraud. The Ministry of Social Development, their numbers show that the total overpayment to those fraudsters was just $2.3 million. So that's about a 5% return on taxpayers' money there. Is that fiscally responsible?
If your policy is that we're not going to investigate fraud...
That's not... you've gone to the binary there. I'm merely saying that the money we investigate in fraud isn't necessarily represented in the money we get back. And if your concern is around fiscal responsibility and spending taxpayers' money wisely, then that's another concern. I mean, look at this. The IRD typically identifies and pursues roughly $1 billion in tax evasion every year. But some estimates put the total tax evasion at $7 billion. So if you are so committed to persecuting fraud and to upholding moral standards, how much more money will you provide to pursue tax evasion?
Well, in our view, what we need to do with tax is so that there's
tax
less
evasion,
opportunity. So, well, in the case of tax evasion, I think that it's something that's completely wrong. People should...
So how much more money does your policy put into tax evasion?
What I'm interested in is what is the underlying policy beneath these areas that government's active in. And
I thought you were interested in taxpayer money.
Well, I'm interested in taxpayer money, of course.
Yeah, I thought you were interested in what was morally right.
Well, I'm absolutely interested. If you want to have an argument about how much money is being used to take on tax evasion, if you want to have an argument about how much money is used to go after benefit fraud, that's a separate argument.
Oh, I mean, you're a party that says it's focused on serious policy in this election, not just populist issues. But you mentioned fraud 8 times in your welfare policy. I can't find a single policy that comes down to pursuing tax evasion or white-collar crime. So we spend $50 million investigating benefit fraudsters, but the Serious Fraud Office gets $17 million. So would you commit to increasing that funding?
Look, we very well might. As I say, we haven't actually released a policy on tax evasion. I think it's a little bit unfair to say that because you don't have a policy in another area that you believe is connected.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, it speaks to your priorities, though, right? And the umbrella principles that you are fixing your priorities by is fiscal responsibility and morality, and I think that through that lens, both of those policies are directly linked. One last question on this, and then I'll move on. But hang on, one last question. Between 2018 and 2020, the vast majority of benefit fraud prosecutions were done under the Crimes Act, so 83%. In that period, the vast majority of tax fraud cases, 84%, were prosecuted under the Tax Administration Act, which, surprise, surprise, has softer sentences. So would you support, in principle, aligning tax fraud and welfare fraud into the same act when it comes to prosecutions?
Well, possibly in principle, Jack.